Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of In Lay Terms. I'm your host, Payman Ascari, and today I have my good friend Arnold Heino here. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
Doing pretty good. Arnold, I think everyone's pretty much gathered that, like me, you're a supporter of the PPC, but you're also a PPC candidate. So tell us a little about yourself and then why you decided to run.
Well, obviously I'm from Sault Ste. Marie, so I was a lab technician at Life Labs at one time. I lost my job because I didn't take the shot and stood up for my rights. And my previous history was always a Tommy Douglas fan. But then when Max left the PC party and he promoted the People's Party, I liked that. I loved Max's conviction and his ethics. And we had a candidate in Sault Ste. Marie, her name's Amy Segato. I just loved her passion. And so I supported him, and I was always in the back. But then I guess when they started using this SOGI 123, and I guess in Ontario it's called the WIN curriculum, so when I said I have to stand up, and I have to get in more in the forefront to stand up for the children of Canada. And so I've organized 2 rallies, Million Man Marches for Canada, for children in Canada. I organized them. It was a bridge that the government had crossed too far. When you start hitting the kids, I don't believe in that. So.
Okay, so you supported the Million March for Kids. How did you get into that?
Well, we have a group in the Sioux here with freedom fighters and that, and we supported the truckers and all that. So we would have meetings every once in a while. But so what happened in Sioux when we all heard about obviously on social media, we heard about the Million Man March for Children, and I asked around, okay, who's running this show in the Sioux? And everybody said, well, I don't know. We think this person, we think that person. And I said, okay, I'm done with people wanting to do things. It's time to step up, plate, and take the bull by the horns. It's just like I said, everybody. A lot of people have good intentions, but a lot of people are scared to just have to step up to the plate and do something. So that's where I came in, said, I'm done. And there was a couple of guys said, we've been waiting for you to step up to the plate and do exactly what you're doing. So I said, well, I'm not going to sit back anymore. I can't. So we need somebody in the Sioux that is going to be the front runner and speak his mind on the truths. So.
I kind of want to stick with this Million March for Kids.
Yeah.
How did you find did you have any support from your friends? Or I'm assuming you had friends left after COVID, but like, did they support you as you supported this Million March for Kids sort of against SOGI and everything?
Oh, 100%. The support was absolutely phenomenal. I think the first rally we had was about 300 people. I mean, that's good for Sault Ste. Marie. It really is. The support was awesome, and actually the support from the police force in Sault Ste. Marie was awesome. I worked in collaboration with them to let them know exactly what I was doing, what we were doing. I was in contact with them right away. And after the first rally, talking to liaison officer, he said, I owe you an apology. I said, for what? He goes, you said, you guys are so well behaved and all that. So we thought there was going to be fights and all that, everything you see on TV. And he goes, we owe you we actually had a meeting. He said that the police force actually had a meeting after the first rally and said, wow, this was really organized. They were peaceful. I mean, there was a little bit of interactions, but nothing too, just human nature kind of deal. But he said, what you did, and it was not just me, but we did as a group. We stuck to our guns. We We didn't say any. We didn't get involved in the rhetoric from the other side, kind of deal. And I really hate to use that term, but we stuck to our guns, and it's not like it's not like we don't hate the other side. All like I kept on saying, the rally is to save the children and get the governments out of our children's lives. Like, let the parents decide what's better for the children. But the police officer, like, he was fantastic. Oh my God, it was him and I talk to this day. We still talk, but they were awesome, and it's in the Sioux here, and it even got better the second rally. So,
for the benefit of the audience, like, how would you define? Like, I know SOGI stands for sexual orientation and gender inclusivity, but like,
yep.
Practically speaking, how would you define it for the layperson?
Oh, Sodom and Gomor being enforced on our children. That's the way I look at it. It's like the government is, and I know it's biblical, but it's like SOGI 1, 2, 3, and the Wynne curriculum. Kathleen Wynne, who was a premier in Ontario, that's part of the sexual indoctrination of kids in Ontario. But it's like Sodom and Gomorrah being forced onto our children.
That the biblical reference there is, it's like the sexualization or the sexual excess?
Well, sexual, everything involved. Like, I mean, for example, you have really. Okay, so I mean, really, you have drag queens telling stories to children. I mean, that's just so wrong. Or, I mean, if you look at SOGI 1, 2, 3, that's based on the principles of the WHO or the United Nations. It's like, I mean, now they're, don't tell your parents that you want to be called a guy, or you want to change your name, or if you want to be sexually transformed, whatever. You don't tell your parents. I mean, we have to get the governments out of the schools. I mean, schools are there to be taught the 3 R's, like math, science, and all that stuff. Like, I mean, whatever. And nothing against the gay community. I mean, they're human beings just like you and I. But what they do behind closed doors stays there. Just like what I do behind closed doors, it stays there. Like, what you do in the bedroom, that's your business. But when you have a government that's forcing all these falsitivities of sexual indoctrination onto the children, innocent children, I mean, that's what that whole Million Man March was about.
Where do you think this started? Like I've been thinking about this because when I went to, I'm 40 now, and I started high school like 1995, and they started introducing sexual education, and it seemed so harmless at the time. You're just talking about reproduction, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like everything else with the left, you give them an inch, they take a yard or a mile. What's your opinion?
Well, you know, back in the days when burn the bras and all that, back in the hippie era. But actually, you just said was actually true. You give them an inch, you take them out. They wanted to be recognized as. So they wanted to be recognized to be able to get married and all that. Okay, so we gave them an inch, and then all of a sudden they're taking it to the extreme. Like, for example, I mean, this might be a bad example, but if I were to run down the street right now without my clothes on, guess what? I get thrown in jail. Yet Yonge Street, they can have a parade, and old elderly people can walk down with no clothes on, and that's fine and dandy. I mean, seriously? And you got kids there. That's the thing. You got kids. I mean, kids don't need to see this kind of stuff.
So here's a kind of a difficult question. What succeeded with the the movement, the Million March movement, and what didn't succeed in achieving your goals?
Actually, what succeeded was the fact that the police officers, they actually, second rally, they took it. We actually got to converse back with the pride side, I guess you could say, and we gave them the mic to speak too. And the police, the liaison officer took a picture of us talking back and forth. He goes, I've never seen this in my lifetime, that two sides got together from so far different fractions, but they got together and were able to converse back and forth. He goes, that is a freaking miracle. He goes, I took a picture and he goes, this is going to every police shop in Ontario. So we were able to have dialogue, but I think what really, and I've had a lot of people ask me this question. So in our Constitution, our Charter of Rights, it says our country is built on sovereignty of God and rule of law. And so many people said, do you know what that first sentence is? I said, yeah, that's why I'm fighting. With sovereignty of God and the rule of law. So we don't have that in our country anymore. And so many people said, are you going to keep on fighting for that? I said, well, that's what I'm here for. I mean, we have to fight for that. I mean, that's what our country is based on. That's why people came from Europe or Britain, whatever, over to Canada, and plus the States too, so they could have the freedom and not get persecuted for their beliefs in God. And somebody asked me, so, well, you're talking about religion. I said, no. It doesn't say religion. It says God. It's very specific. The rule of God, the sovereignty of God, and the rule of law. I said, God and religion are two different things. So a lot of people, they keep on calling me up or message me, whatever, and talk to me, said, you're going to stand by them ethics? I said, 100%. That's what our country is based on, and it's been taken away from us. We have to fight to get it back.
What do you think happened? Like the charter completely failed during COVID. I was having a discussion on Twitter. Never do that. You never get sucked into these Twitter discussions. But it really comes down to, like, some people actually believe that the charter doesn't really apply in times of a pandemic or an emergency. The charter kind of evaporates. How do we get to this point where people think that it's normal that for the government to come in and do whatever it wants with you?
Well, the original charter, if I'm correct, was written in, I think, I can't remember what year exactly, I think it was 1872 or something like that. But in 1982, I think it's Peckford, they rewrote the Charter of Rights so that we could fight for exactly what happened when Trudeau took away our rights during the truckers' convoy. Now, as you know, what just happened there, one of the justices in Canada said that what Trudeau did back then was illegal, like freezing bank accounts, taking away our freedom of rights, freedom of speech, and all that. So I think based on the second version or the additives in 1982, he based that on that premises of the Honourable Peckford there, that they fought to get them our rights put back into more rights that weren't put into the original document.
I think I'm horrible with names, but I think the judge's name is Mosley, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
but
I understand that. That's good, yes.
It was kind of a spicy week last week. So first you had Tucker Carlson. Maybe I'm getting the order wrong, but you had Tucker Carlson. You had the Mosley ruling with the EMA Act being unlawful, and then Trudeau went into hiding. He did this after the trucker convoy, so he goes into hiding. So the party has no leader, and Guilbeault, the psychopath climate communist, comes out and he tried to do damage control, and he's crying about how Tucker carried out political violence against him. It feels like a party in free fall. What do you think?
Oh, 100%. They're like a wounded animal right now. It's kind of scary in a way because there's nothing worse than a wounded animal trying to survive, and so I think that's the mode they're in, and I think Canadians are starting to wake up. But I think the problem with Canadians is we were peace-loving people 100%, but there's they're starting to wake up, but they would rather be sheep and back up without they want to back us. Like for example, People's Party, Max, they know he's the best guy, and they don't want to put their face out there, but they'll back us up. So I mean, we're the only party out there that's gonna fight for them. I mean, it's like, and then and you talk about the Liberals. I mean, where's Polyev been? I mean, I guess he's waiting for the polls to see what the polls are good for him. I don't know.
Yeah, this. Why don't I just ask you the question? How do you confront the issue of people telling you don't split the vote?
Oh, that's simple. I mean, what we need is, I mean, you have to be deaf, dumb, blind, and stupid not to know that Polyev is probably going to win. But we're the only party that's going to back him up. We're the only party that's going to make sure that he stays on his promises. That he's. The funniest thing you bring that up. If you look what's going on, Polyev and the PCs are using all of our party's values now. You just pick out every time he speaks, he takes something out of our platform and brings it up because he knows Max is right. So, but we're the only party that would get in there when we get, I don't say if, I say when we get seats in there. We'll hold him to make sure that he stands by his promises, and we can keep the Wolves, which are the Liberals and NP, stop them from making any deals, because Canadians want a strong true conservative government with backbones, and we're not splitting the votes. We're making the conservative stronger.
Max always tells that story. I think it was Andrew Scheer who was the leader, and Max went to him and he said, here are my ideas. And Scheer said, yeah, they're good ideas and our base supports it, but the country doesn't support it, so we're not going to pursue it. This is sort of like, a leader has to compromise, and it's a leader of both, everyone in the country. I was listening to Leighton Gray after the Tucker Carlson event. He put out a podcast, Twitter space, and he said Danielle Smith has to start governing based on the people that voted for her, not the ones that didn't vote on her for her. So I was like, Leighton Gray for Prime Minister. Get that guy in there.
Yeah. No, I think, Max is well respected throughout the world too. Like, not just in Canada. Even true media people and true politicians, and even throughout the States, they talk about Max in the States. And even in Australia and even in Britain, they talk about Max. They said the guy he's the only politician in Sault Ste. Marie. And I really don't call Max a politician, because that's a wrong word. And people hate that word, politician. Max is a true Canadian. He stands up for his ethics. He's the only person that's willing. He was the only person that stood up for the truckers. He's the only person that stood up for the churches that were being shut down. He's the only person that stood up for the Canadians. He's the only politician that got arrested. What, for speaking the truth? Like, where were the other politicians? Sitting in their cozy house in Parliament there, sipping on a coffee, and so, Mr. Speaker of the House, what are we allowed to do? Like.
Yeah, it's. I almost feel sorry for Pierre Poilievre. Like, I think he can't handle what's happening. So if we just take the Max issue, every single one of these things, it's supportive of Max. So they're coming out, they're screaming like, don't split the vote, don't vote for PPC. And then you just listed a couple, like Max talked about the church burnings. Max supported the truckers. Max was arrested. Max was against the vaccine. Not the vaccine, but the mandates. Yeah. So, I like the Conservative Party. On the one hand, they have Max, and they don't know how to deal with it. On the other hand, they have the media that's constantly calling them far right wing MAGA extremists. And Pierre I don't think he's. Again, nothing against him personally. I'm not trying to trash the party, but he doesn't have the political acumen of Candice Bergen, the previous interim leader, like she was smart and charismatic.
Well, but remember when she came in, she went out and talked to truckers, and she came back in and said, now it's time for them to leave, too.
Oh, she said that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she said. I mean, that's what I heard. So it's, and nobody was in Parliament, whatever. It just all. I mean, all in the trucker convoy, all it had to do was the leader of each party is just come out and talk to them. That's all they want to do is just be heard. And not one leader came out and talked to them. Like, but you know, because of truckers, look what's happening around the world right now. Like, I mean, look at what's happening in France, Germany, and now, and in the States now. I think it's either 70 or 700,000 truckers are going down to the Texas border.
Yeah, that's gonna be hot.
Well, you know, I wouldn't be surprised that it's gonna happen up here again. People in the world have just they've had enough of being run by tyrannical governments, and that's what it is. I mean, the governments have forgotten that they work for us, we don't work for them, and people are they've had enough. And it's people like myself, and I said, I've had enough too in the Sioux here. I said, it's all. I said, I guess our MP is Mr. Sheehan in the Sioux. We don't know who the PC party is or the NDP party, but they made it well known that remember my name because I'm gonna be coming after you hard. Because there are things that they're not going to be able to talk about the WHO. They're not going to be able to talk about the WF. They're not going to be able to talk about the United Nations or the Paris Climate Accord and all that, or even the truckers. That's off borders for them to talk, because the truth it's a truth. So that their parties they're limited to what they can say, whereas in our party, Max tells us that our words are stronger than anything else. We speak the truth.
You know, I went on a podcast, and the guy, I told him I'm a PPC candidate, so he kind of had to ask me a couple of interview questions, and then he goes, you know, we've been lied to by politicians before, where they promise one thing and on the campaign trail, and then they deliver another. How are you going to be different? And I almost didn't know how to answer the question. I was like, you know, the PPC is not like that. Like, there's very few things that I'm not allowed to say. I don't have to toe the party line. It's almost like I'm running as an independent, and what you see is what you get, which is kind of what I like about the PPC.
Well, 100%. Again, it goes back to sovereignty of God and the rule of law. I mean, that's what our country is based on. So, and free speech, where Max is. I mean, obviously we can't be radicals. I mean, obviously, but we do have ethics in our party, which is there's no ethics in any other party. And it's like all it is well, this election we want to get rid of the PCs, or this election we want to get rid of the liberals. It's like I don't think I think our goal is to educate the voters on. We have to educate them. Okay, it's time that you step up to the plate and know what's going on. Speak the truth to them and tell them. And yes, it's going to be a lot of work. We have to go door knocking, but people. I had one person ask me, "So are you going to win?" Well, so that's the goal. He said, "That's not what I asked you." So are you going to win? I said, "Yes, I'm here to win it, 100%." Do I think we're going to win in Sault Ste. Marie? No, I said I know I'm going to win in Sault Ste. Marie. And I said, look what happened in Quebec when the Orange crushed there. I mean, whoever thought the NDP would ever win Quebec? But it happened. Now, if the NDP was smart, they were just a bunch of kids, I guess, that got in, but the people of Quebec had enough of what was going on. So they voted that was their way of showing the government in Quebec, okay, we've had enough of your BS. Wake up and listen to us. So that's what we have to do is we have to wake up Canadians and tell them the truth, let them know what's really going on, the truth about the truckers convoy, the truth about what's really going on in the world, like with the WHO, WF, and the United Nations. We have to wake them up to tell them the truth about that.
I'm going to pull on that thread. You said educate the Canadians. What do you think's going? Switching gears, what do you think's going on with housing? Like, why do you think that housing in Canada is just it's gotten to the point that it's completely detached from what it was 60 years ago?
Well, we got too many people coming in. I mean, I think last month we had 450,000 immigrants coming in. I mean, I'm not against immigration, but if we want to have immigrants in, that's fine. But make sure that they're qualified to come into Canada, not to drive a Uber cab or anything like that. But we need doctors. We need educated people come in. And I'm not putting down the immigrants at all. But I talked to during the rally there. I talked to one of the Muslim leaders in Sault Ste. Marie, and he said, Arnold, you know, I had to have an education, and it took me 3 years to become a citizen of Canada, but now they're letting them in left and right, and all they're doing is driving taxi cabs and DoorDash things. But you're overloading our country, and yet in the same token, you're taking jobs away from the Canadians, and then people are getting into they're fighting for their lives, and so they're getting into criminal acts, and the drug addiction and the homelessness in Canada is like, even the Sioux, it's brutal. Like, they don't. People say, well, they don't want to work. Well, it's not that they don't want to work. They want to work, but they're not being given a chance to work because the immigrants are getting the first jobs, because we have to diversify. Well, no, we have to diversify for Canadians first.
I see a lot of problems. Like you mentioned DoorDash. I don't know why, but something is wrong when you see a man in his like 50s delivering for DoorDash. I'm not like, a man has to do whatever he has to do to provide for his family, but when that becomes the norm, it's like we're not people anymore. We're just cogs in this machine. So nobody can afford land. Nobody has a career. Like, how are you going to have a wife and 4 kids if you're delivering DoorDash for someone else? And the money, what I'm trying to say is, I think the money's going somewhere. It's being sucked out of Canada, and it's going somewhere, but it's not going to the people.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Like, I mean, you're right. I mean, people have to do whatever to for the family. But let me think of what I was going to say. So where's the money going? Like, I mean, and I might be off topic when I say this, but like, all these people that come in from the immigrants, I mean, they're driving almost brand new cars, and they've only been here 6 months. I've seen it right in my own neighborhood. Like, how does somebody come from a country and be able to afford a $70,000 car? It's like, I've always asked that question. I mean, I don't understand where. I mean, I don't know. Like, I lived here all my life, and it's like, in order to buy a car, you have to make sure you've been working for 5 years. I don't even know what the requirements are now anyway, but it's like, but in order to buy a car, you had to be working for a long time. So
I think the government, and it's not just the Liberals, Mulroney, Chrétien, Harper, Trudeau, these immigrants, they're not people to the government. I think they're like a check, or like a dollar value. So they bring that money in and they buy that BMW. They pay taxes on that BMW. When they buy a house, they pay taxes. I think they're like, the government's. Spoiler alert, I hate the government, but I think they're doing like a 1-2 punch. They've destroyed the economy, so they're bringing in money through immigration, and then they're propping up the economy by printing money and giving it to, like, they give doctors and police officers and MPs a raise, and that raise gets counted as the GDP. That's fraud, man. That's absolute fraud.
Well, I mean, right now we have the Trudeau government is the biggest corporation that we ever had in Canada for governments. I mean, all he's doing there is he's hiring federal employees for votes. That's all it is. I mean, you work for the Trudeau government or for the federal government, whatever, and so come next election, well, if I vote for Pierre or if I vote for Max or whomever, I'm going to lose my job. I mean, that's just a backhanded way of buying votes. That's what I think, anyway.
No, I agree with you. I got the same feeling with that. What was it? The dental plan that kept Trudeau in power from the NDP. It's just,
okay.
I felt like Trudeau was out communisting Jagmeet Singh, and he's like, "Oh no, I got to come up with something. Free dental." Yeah.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because the first wave was for people over 80 years old. So the average age of a man, the average death rate for a man in Canada is, I think, is about 77 or 78. So you're giving free dental care to people over 80, yet the average male Canadian only lives to 77, 78 years old. That's the biggest joke in the world. But who's paying for it? It's still, I mean, people forget. It's free. No, it's not. They say, it's free. No, it's not free. Somebody has to pay for that. Somebody has to pay the dentist. Somebody has to pay. It's coming out of somebody's pocket, and it's coming out of our pockets.
You're in Sault Ste. Marie. I'm out west. Tell me, where is it located and what's the population there?
Population is around about 75,000 people, and we're located right in the middle of Canada. So if you know the Great Lakes, you have Lake Superior, you have Lake Michigan, you have Lake Huron. We're right in the middle. So
if you're driving from Manitoba to Toronto, would you pass through Sault Ste. Marie?
Oh yeah, 100%. You have to come down Highway 17. Well, Highway 17 goes all across Canada, but you come down through around the Great Lakes through Thunder Bay, and you come down through Wawa, and then you hit Sudbury. I should say Sault Ste. Marie, and then you go to Sudbury, and then down to Toronto.
And have you lived there all your life?
I have. I was born and raised here, and then I moved to Parry Sound for about 15 years. That's where I got my medical experience in Parry Sound. Worked at the hospital down there, and then I decided to move back to the Sioux. Just it's time to come back home. So I guess there was a reason for that. I mean, it's almost I look back and say, I guess I had to get somebody maybe. It's God's way telling me you got to move back to Sioux, and it's time to stand up for the city. So,
how do you find your community, the country, Canada, but your community? How has it changed in the last 20, 30, 40 years?
Oh my God, you bring up a very good question there. I remember the first day I worked at Life Labs, and it's in a mall in Sault Ste. Marie, Cambridge Mall. And I went to the bathroom, and there was this needle box in there, all full of what they used to use as diabetic needles. And I came back to the labs. The Sioux has a big drug problem, a bad drug problem. I said, "Why? How do you know that?" I said, "Just look at the needle box. It's full of 1 ml syringes. That's diabetics don't use them anymore. That's old school. That's what drug users use." And he said, "So this Sioux's got a big drug problem." It was filled. I was totally flabbergasted. I was freaked out, actually. So Sioux has changed. I mean, oh my God! When I was a kid, I used to ride my bike all over the city and go to stock car races every Sunday, whatever, on my bike, and never had a care in the world. But now it's like, even crossroad where I live here, is like they're building tents there and doing drugs right there. I go over there all the time and kick them out. I mean, it's like the city's not safe anymore.
But I'm wondering about that too. Like, I understand, this is probably an argument people had 2,000 years ago. Like, oh, back in the day, but things aren't supposed to get this bad from generation to generation? Like, it's supposed to stay relatively stable. Like, what's happened?
What's happened? Demoralization of the male figure. I mean, really, I mean, everybody always looked up to the male as a protector, and now it's like they're demoralizing the male figure to be a wimp. I mean, that's like where are the days when a man opens up a door for a woman going into a mall? Where are the days that men actually stand up for the rights? I mean, that's been totally taken away from us. I mean, and I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but that's, as men, we're supposed to stand up to the plate and protect the kids and the women. I mean, but that's been totally taken out of context, totally taken away from us. And if you even now, if you fight for your own family, and you go overboard, you get charged. As what happened in out west there. The guy's protecting. If somebody breaks into his house, and the guy went a little bit too far, and the judge says, "Well, we're going to charge you instead of the guy that really broke into the house." I mean, seriously, what happened to the strong male? It's totally just not out there. Like even like with women and men in women's sports or trans people, or what to call them. Like where are the men standing up for the women? Like all these high-paid athletes, not one person stood up for against that. There are a few, I'm sure, but I mean, you think as a collective whole, as professional athletes, they have all this money. You think they'd be standing up for the female athletes, and you know, you can't have men in the same sport as women. It's just like, what's that song I'm looking at? Where have all the Johnny Waynes gone?
Oh, that was where have all the good men gone? Is that the one? Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but really, where have all?
I Need a Hero, I think was the name of the song.
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember the exact song, but like where are the men? When are the men going to stand up?
I don't know. I mean, like I was thinking about my parents. So I'm from Iran. We immigrated here in '89.
Okay.
And when you live in the Middle East or the third world country, you're almost like 100 years behind everyone else. So my parents grew up in my parents were born in the 1940s, so they might as well have been born in the 1840s. And if somebody trespassed on their property, they never did this, but if they trespassed on their property and they killed that person, the sheriff would never come over and say, all right, as a matter of law, we're going to have to arrest you until we can adjudicate this later. But here, if I'm walking on the street and somebody comes up to me to beat me up, and I stab them with my knife, they'll arrest me because until I can prove that I didn't take that knife out to defend myself with, because that's illegal. So these little tiny changes in the law, they have a massive impact on our understanding of life, I guess.
No, 100%. Yeah, and it's like you could kill somebody and then you're on bail 15 minutes later. I mean, it's almost getting to that point. It's like the person that's committing the crime has more rights than the person that's protecting himself. Like, and the judges are, the judges aren't helping. I mean, I know people say that, well, we have to be easier and all that. And I go with the figure that we have to be stricter on it. Yeah, the jails are going to load up 100%. But when somebody realizes that they're going to be put away for a long time, and I believe everybody has second chances. So when you first commit a crime, 100% you deserve a second chance. But if you do the same crime second time, you're going to be put away for a long time. Yes, it's going to load the jails up, but then people are going to realize, oh, they're going to think twice about what the consequences are.
Yeah, this was Rudy Giuliani's theory. So they're like, New York was going insane. So what they did is they would Anybody that jumped a turnstile, they detain them, and then they handcuff them all together for everyone to walk by to see, and they humiliated them, and like crime kind of went down that way.
No, and I think we have to be tough on crime. And like when I remember when I was in Paris Island, was in Emerge, and when they legalized marijuana, and I had a few friends that were OPP officers, and they shook their heads and said, "This is going to start. We're not looking forward to the future now." They said it's a big mistake. The crime rate is going to go up so bad now. It's like, and ever since they legalized marijuana, look what's happened to Canada. The crime rate is getting worse and worse every day.
You know, when Trudeau got elected, I never voted for Harper until Trudeau ran in the race, and I had no idea about politics at the time. I just saw Trudeau and his ad campaigns, and I'm like, this guy's going to be trouble. This is a moron. Like, you can't vote for somebody because they're going to legalize a drug. So I voted for Harper. Not that I love the guy, but I'm kind of proud of myself, patting myself on the back. Even then, I did the right thing.
Yeah. Well, I never voted for Trudeau. I mean, I did vote for Jack Layton when he was in power, and I remember when that's when the NPs were a little bit stronger back then, but and he said there was something about the abortion law, and he told all his front benchers that if you don't vote for abortion, then they're going to put you to the back bench. Like, you have to vote for abortion. And that's I was working in the hospital in Sault Ste. Marie at the time, and I was going up, and there was a guy by the name of Tony Martin, who was NDP person in the Sioux at one time. I said, "Tony, what the heck is Jack doing?" He goes, I said, "He's telling his constituents to vote for something that some of them that don't agree with. And if they don't agree with him, then they'll be backbenched." I said, "That's not what this country is about." And he said, "Well, I don't know what's going on. I just heard about that too." And like, but that's where politics has gotten. Like, if you don't go by what your party says, then you get backbenched. I mean, but the beauty of our party is we're allowed to speak our mind, and we don't have, Max is not going to tell us what we can or can't do. I mean, within reason, 100%. We have to go by what our principles are. But I mean, we're voted where we live. Like in the Sioux, I'm here to represent Sault Ste. Marie. I'm not here to represent Halifax or Toronto, or whatever. I'm worried about Sault Ste. Marie, and that's the way it should be. Like, I mean, not because our leader says, "Well, you have to do it this way because it's better for the whole country." Well, I'm here for Sault Ste. Marie, not the whole country. I'm here for the country, but if people in Sault Ste. Marie elect me to work for them, not for Toronto or Calgary or whatever. So
These political parties, and again, I understand that we're running for a political party, but it's in its infancy, so they can't control us. But they have such an inordinate amount of power that you can see it too. They're using that power against the Canadian people. They're saying only the Conservative Party can win, so don't vote for the People's Party of Canada. And by the way, if you do want to vote for our MPs, these are the 50 things they can't talk about. So it's like an assault on the democratic process, the representative democracy.
well, they have no ethics. All they're worried about is the polls. They have no ethics at all. Like, I never started watching CPAC so much in my lifetime. As I got into it, I was like, it's a complete joke there. Like I was when they got the new Speaker of the House there. I can't remember his name, but here's Polyev and Trudeau walking the new Speaker of the House there. They're all jubilant and all that. And then the Speaker of the House there was he had to do a speech there during the Parliament session where they're allowed to debate back and forth. And it's like, that's Parliament's time, not the Speaker's time. All he's supposed to be doing is listening and making sure nobody gets out of hand. And then I think it was Andrew Scheer told him, you can't do a speech during our time. And then the speaker went back and said, well, okay, but I have this to say. And then Andrew Scheer got up again and said something, and then Polyev got up and said something, and the speaker both times went back, well, but I have to say this anyway. And I have friends in the PC party in Sault Ste. Marie. I said, if that was me, if I was Polyev, I would have taken the whole PC, our whole team out. I said, we're not going to put up with this. We'll walk out, and when you're done having your TV time there, then we'll come back in. I mean, there's nothing like that. They don't. Again, they don't have. They don't want to stand up for themselves. I mean, there comes a point in time when you have to have, I guess in Italian words, because we're Italian city, you have to have the cojones to stand up for yourself. You know, like and even that one PC person, I can't remember his name, but he got up and said what he wanted to say against the Liberals, and he said what he had to say, and they kicked him out. Well, you can't talk like that in here. But I mean, like I would have thought that Polyev would have just pulled his whole PC party out and said, no, this is our time, not your time. You work for us. We don't work for you. We're walking out. We'll shut it down right now. And when you're done doing your 15-minute spiel, then we'll come back and we'll finish what we have to do.
I've also been watching C-SPAN, and I have noticed an erosion of, respect of traditions. And it really started with the Liberals during the trucker convoy. Do you remember they were throwing around the word Nazi like it was nothing? They're calling them Nazis, swastikas. Matt Green of the NDP, I hate that guy. He's trying to call the truckers terrorists. He's like ideologically motivated, violent extremists. So they're doing all of these things, and then it got really out of control with that lady, Pam or whatever, Damoff maybe. She said today's International Vagina and Vulva Day. I'm like, why would you do that in the Commons? We don't go out there and talk about International like penis and scrotum day or something. like some things you shouldn't talk about there. And all of these, like, they built up, and then you had that literal Nazi SS soldier in there, and they're like, how could this happen? I'm like, well, because you prostituted the Commons. Like, there's no sanctity there anymore.
No, it's a joke. Even when I'm watching, like I'll watch CPAC, I guess, or when the PCs are, when they're grilling like on all the stuff that with the immigration and all the stuff that Trudeau has done illegally, and they're grilling them, and it's like all the liberal leaders or liberal people are being in there. It's like they just sit there and they laugh, and it's like they don't have a care in the world. So what? So you grill me? That's all right. I don't care. I'll laugh at you. You can say all you want, but I'm laughing at you because we got Trudeau's got our back. I guess you could say. Like, to them, they're making a mockery of the whole parliamentary judicial system too. It's like, it's almost like, which goes back to the WF. Like, it's almost like they think that. So we might have another election, but we know we're going to get it. We're going to get in. I know people don't like to hear the truth about that, but it's almost like Trudeau he doesn't care what goes on, what he wants to do, whatever. But it's like he has so much confidence in Klaus Schwab and that he's telling me to do this, and I'll do whatever I can. And next election I'll get in again anyway. So it's almost like it's predicted that he thinks we're going to have an election, but if it's going to be real, who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I haven't been following the fraud in the elections in Canada, so I'm very hesitant to comment on it because I don't know. But a lot of people have talked, and the thing about fraud in elections, it's kind of like corruption in the court system. It doesn't matter if it's there or not. What matters is if people perceive it to be there.
Yeah.
So if people perceive that the courts are corrupt, and they're not going to have faith in the courts, that's a problem. You have to address it. Same thing with election interference.
Yeah.
I firmly believe there was massive election interference in the U.S. in 2020. But even if there wasn't, you have to restore that confidence, and you don't restore it by telling people to shut up and sit down. So, Sorry?
No, I agree with you 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I got sidetracked there. I don't know. We're kind of coming on the hour, and I want to get you on more often. This has been fun, but tell us about your. Sorry.
I love it. I get more revved every time. I get more and more revved up.
It's good. I mean, you should be excited about your campaign and your community. Tell us like what are your plans? Like, how do you plan on running, or like what's your strategy?
Well, in Sault Ste. Marie, our crime rate is like 65% of people are worried about in Sault Ste. Marie are worried about a crime rate. So 100% for that. Back to police and of course to try and get the like they're talking. Our city council is talking about getting a safe injection site in the city, which I think it's a bunch of bunk because look what's happened in BC. I mean, they got these safe injection sites. It's like a crime haven down there, and even the northern Scandinavian countries have gotten away from it. So what we need is a safe rehabilitation site, not a safe injection site. We need a safe rehabilitation site because anybody that knows about drugs is you just don't go into the hospital for a week and get off it and then you're okay. It's a long process to get off drugs, but I want to focus on that. And plus, I'm building a team. I have to have a strong team. So I have our CFO is a rock star, Jim Mazie. Willows, who is secretary, she's a rock star. Just invited Heather is going to be our IT person. She's a freaking rock star. Her and I work together. You know the movie Sound of Freedom?
Yes.
So her and I worked together to get it in the Sioux here because Sioux didn't want to have it. So she contacted Angel Studios. So we got 2 showings of it and Sioux and sold out both times. So she did all that and I did all the road work to get people to come out. So she's going to be our IT person. So she's a rock star, 100%. And so I'm trying to build a team, a we team, not me team. I want to make sure it's about we, not me. I'm just the guy that can be on stage, shout my mouth off. That's all, But as a team, we can win. And we'll work. And there's another lady. I think she was the first candidate for the People's Party in Sault Ste. Marie. We had a meet and greet the other day on Saturday, and she wants to get back on board too, to help us out. So
Cool, good stuff. So I'm hearing that your top issue in Sault Ste. Marie is drug use.
drugs and crime, 100%.
Wow.
Huge. Like people walking out of grocery stores with buggyfuls of groceries, and the employees can't stop them because the company says, well, if you stop them, then we're going to charge you. We'll fire you, kind of deal. Like, and I understand from the grocery stores aspect, they're worried about lawsuits against them. But I mean, it's really disheartening when you see people walking out of stores with buggies full of food or items, and the poor people working their tail off. What are they working for? Like, so. But no, crime and drugs in Sioux are they're the number 2 problems in Sault Ste. Marie.
And you've mentioned the police department a couple of times. Do you guys have a local police department or is it RCMP?
No, it's city Sault Ste. Marie,
Okay.
local, yeah. And they're fantastic. I mean, they don't get enough. They don't get enough backing. They don't get enough backing from city council. I mean, when they put in their budget in the Sioux, like the police chief was asking for this much money, and our city council was like, well, can you just like have a better attitude with the people in the Sioux? Well, no, the police, when they need the budget, 65% of people said is number one thing on the list right now is crime. So do we need more police officers? Yes. The overtime that they have to do and the mental anguish that they have to deal with too, alone. I mean, it's not an easy job. I have a lot of friends that are police officers that I play hockey with, and it's not a job I would want, because it's not only, like, they see a lot of things that we don't see, so they need backing from our city council. So it's like, and all they're asking is a simple little things. Well, we need more people because we have people on sick leave because of being overworked and overwhelmed mentally too. So we need to back them up.
Good stuff. Well, Arnold, I guess we can end it there. I just want to thank you for coming on.
Well, thank
And
you.
no, you're welcome. And let's try to make a regular thing out of this as long as we both have time.
100%. Anytime you want.
All right.
I was nervous as heck, but now I'm relaxed. So
Oh, I think I told you before. My whole life I'm just nervous. Like if I'm nervous, I'm walking my dog, and if somebody starts walking towards us, I get nervous. It's you and me both, brother.
okay, Bell.
All right, Arnold. Have a wonderful day.
Okay, God bless.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, bye now.